Hi, my name is Steven, and I'm the guy behind 52Skillz. 52Skillz started out as a passion project where I learn a new skill every week and then document the process on YouTube, and it kind of grew into this brand, and now it's my full-time job. Well, I think probably one of the interesting things to talk about with me is just how I have adapted to use technology and how I learned to use technology throughout building the YouTube channel. When I first started, I knew nothing about cameras. I just found a cheap camera that I thought could be interesting. I Googled what's the best camera for the least amount of money, and the first link that I found, I clicked on it and bought it. And that was an NEX3, a Sony NEX3, which I think was not a bad choice. I still use it from time to time for stuff where I don't mind if it gets destroyed. For one of the episodes we actually just released recently, I was doing the splits while driving a remote control Jeep Cherokee, like a full-size Jeep Cherokee, off of a jump, and we set that camera up as the camera that could get run into by the Jeep after it came over, and it still works. And so I still use it today. But yeah, I think kind of my journey along appreciating technology just really depends on what I focus on and become passionate about. So for me, I think that looking into the different types of tech in the camera world is really interesting for me right now, and just editing software, different types of hardware I use to edit. That's really the only technology I care about right now. I shoot with the Sony a7S II, and I think that the amazing thing with the a7S is that you can use it for YouTube videos, you can use it for really high quality stuff. It can shoot in 4K, S-Log, all that kind of stuff. So it's a super versatile camera that can be used for a lot of things. You can shoot 120 FPS, you can get good slow-mo with it. We shot a show that is on TV, and we shot the entire thing with that camera, whereas, 20 years ago, the same sort of level of quality to hit the standards that they're looking for at that time might cost you like $50,000, right? So I think that's really interesting. When you're making videos, there's a lot of really subtle things that people don't necessarily consciously pick up on that make a really great video, and I think audio is one of those things. Yeah, I think there's a lot of videos with incredible content and terrible audio that I'll click out of it without even thinking, oh, that audio is terrible. It's just there's something wrong with it. So I think that's probably one of the biggest steps I've made this year, is trying to make things sound good. Trello has changed my life, just as far as being able to organize my goals. When you're a solo entrepreneur, or just any level of entrepreneur, it's so important to understand what your goals are and the different tasks that you have to complete, because there's no one holding you accountable to it except for yourself. So I just have a whole bunch of different things in Trello where I just track stuff, right? Where it's taxes this year, these are the different things I need to do, and 52Skillz, marketing, video production. So there's just Trello has made me a far more productive and calm person, because I don't need to juggle all that stuff, So Trello and keep a calendar. Those are my two real tech things, and other than that, I'm pretty basic when it comes to the app world. So when I first started, I just shot a whole bunch of stuff, and then my very first video took me 80 hours to edit, because I was learning the software while I was editing this video, and I really had no workflow. I didn't really even think of workflow. I was just let's just look through these clips and put some funny stuff in, and we'll find a song, and I think it's an okay video, but just it looks like a video someone who thinks they're good at editing makes, So I think that yeah, workflow wise, I think what's really interesting about editing and shooting stuff is that people will say, oh wow, you're so good at editing, but the good edits start with thinking about how to shoot it in a way that you could edit it in an interesting way. So I think for me, I'm always trying to think of what are the different phrases and different kind of sound bites that I can provide for me when I'm editing this later to make the edit a lot easier. And I think that's been probably the biggest change for me since I started to now, is just recognizing, after spending so much time editing my own stuff, is just recognizing the different points that I typically pull out of it, right? So in like a skill learning video, it would be like, for sure you want the, when I finally get the skill for the first time, you know, just like the, yeah, you know, like those kind of moments I think are really valuable, and then talking about the different frustrations. And so I think, yeah, so I've probably cut my edits down, you know, first video, 80 hours, season 1 of 52Skillz might have taken me like 15 to 20 hours per video, and then now, you know, I can get it in probably like 10, you know, 6 to 10 hours, depending on the quality. I started out with Final Cut, and I think for people who are just starting out and are by themselves, I think Final Cut X is great. If you want more of like a professional look, Premiere is the way to go, and throughout this year I've started to move over to Premiere, because I'm starting to color grade my episodes, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff you just can't do in Final Cut, where Premiere is like you can do literally everything. Yeah, so the project I've been working on, and which is kind of really accelerated my abilities as a filmmaker and as someone who can talk about, I guess, tech in the film world, is called How to Learn Anything. And how it started was we got a grant from TELUS to make a show, like a pilot of our show, and we ended up winning a broadcast license with them and got a bunch of money to make like a legit show. Is incredible, but you know, when you're living on YouTube and you've grown up on YouTube and all you understand is YouTube, when someone says make us this like TV show, I had no idea what I was doing. So I found all the people, you know, that could kind of cover those bases, and I think it got a lot better through that, and my understanding of like tech in film got a lot stronger through that. So the show How to Learn Anything is this TELUS funded show that we just completed, and the concept of the show is to learn 2 unrelated skills and then combine them to do something ridiculous. So the show that got us the funding is learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube while skydiving. The second episode, I learned the basics of robotics and then attempted to build a cake baking robot. I got like 90% of it done. I'm still working on it. Some parts just came in today. So the difference between like the TV show and the YouTube series was like Final Cut Pro, A6000, out of focus, you know, wouldn't change white balance, but you know, the story was really strong. And then move over to the show where, you know, the like light everything, labs on everything, triple check focus. So just all of like the really like little details where when the viewer's watching it, they might not notice like a massive difference in production value, but it's just like I think the difference from like, you know, like a 6 production value to like an 8 production value is like, it just gets exponential. Final Cut, A6000, not a lot of focus on like making things look perfect. And then on this side is like, so Premiere, A7S2, FS7, and like audio and focus, and just like really making sure that things look good. Yeah. And like setting up shots for 52Skillz content might take like 5 minutes, but like, you know, maybe like 15 to 20 minutes for stuff for How to Learn Anything, which adds up. I don't know, like a drone would be sweet. Probably a Mavic, just because I value portability a lot more than quality. And I think if you're doing stuff for YouTube, you don't need crazy high bit rate, because most people are watching it on their phones and they can't tell the difference. So yeah, Mavic would be sweet. I think the funny thing with the camera world and the film world is it's like a never-ending pit of money that you can spend. So I would probably get a second A7S2 so I can have like matching profile pictures. I'd like a stabilizer, like a hand stabilizer. So the A7S we have right now is in a cage, and it's like pretty heavy because it has all the audio equipment on it. We can attach a monitor to it and everything. I'd like to have an A7S where it's just like a light lens that has great autofocus that I can stick on like a hand stabilizer and get some really beautiful shots with that. Who knows if that'll happen anytime soon. Yeah, but if I had infinite money, it would disappear in the film world. So in conclusion, really in like my tech world, film is one side of it, and then just productivity is the other side of it. I've really started to enjoy working with higher quality tech, whereas before I was like, you don't need that, that's like totally BS. But now I start to see the value in it. And then productivity apps, if you're like a solo entrepreneur or someone who's just trying to get their life organized more, and you don't have a calendar, and you don't have something like Trello, get those things. And also subscribe to 52Skillz, because it's awesome.
Oh, right on.